Start us off, Nay.
Do you want to sing a song? Do you want to do a dance?
I want you to rock and roll.
You want me to rock the Casbah?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. Well, hey guys, welcome to this week's episode of The Hot Johnson.
It's so hot.
It's too hot.
It's too hot.
Okay. Today we are going to be chatting about pain.
Emotional pain and physical?
I think we're going to mainly focus on emotional pain. So
Yeah.
if you're somebody right now in your life, if you're struggling with anything for that matter, you're just feeling depressed, feeling hopeless. Like oftentimes when we are in struggle, things just feel really hopeless. Like, you know, it feels like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. Things just feel really bleak. And so we're hoping that this conversation today, we're going to chat about a few things, offer up a few different ideas and concepts, maybe share some personal stories that can hopefully help you find more meaning, maybe even purpose in the pain that you are currently experiencing. You know, it might not completely resolve the situation, but like hopefully it'll give you a little bit more hope and feel a little bit more lightness and belief that there are better days ahead. And that this period of time could actually maybe even be contributing to those better days.
And I think that when we do have that paradigm shift around this topic of why you're experiencing so much suffering or whatever you are experiencing in your life related to this emotional pain, we forget that there is a purpose behind it. We forget that there is actually a greater meaning in service to our future. And when we get so bogged down in what I think would be most accurately called victim mode or victim story, it does feel hopeless. And we are drowned in that. And I hope that this podcast gives you a new paradigm shift to help you see that just because you are in a period of your life of suffering or challenge, it doesn't mean that the future has to look like that too.
So if I may share, the reason why we kind of started chatting about this topic was because I'm, in counseling school right now. We've been talking about spiritual counseling. And essentially when clients come to us with heavy topics or they're going through like a dark night of the soul where things just feel really heavy, really dark, people don't know who they are anymore, how can we bring some levity and some lightness to that? And so within that, we were talking about the hero's journey. And if you're listening right now and you haven't heard of the hero's journey, it's in a lot of movies.
Star Wars, Harry Potter.
Wizard of Oz is the one that I like to think of because it's like one of the only ones where it's a female character. So many of these like, heroes' journeys, Hercules, it's all about like slaying the dragon and like
Star Wars Episode 7.
Was Princess Leia?
No.
Does she fight someone?
I forget her name. It's been years since I've seen that show.
Okay.
But I hear you.
It's a lot of male characters.
Of course.
So the hero's journey, and as we're talking about this, it's like, can you relate it to your own life, your own struggle that you're in right now? So it's talking about these characters who are in turmoil, who are in struggle, and then they are faced with some sort of calling. And oftentimes with this calling, it's like something maybe in your heart, your soul that's calling to you. It's beckoning to you to like go after a certain dream. Maybe it's to make a certain change in your life. And how often we feel this intuition, we hear this inner truth. Maybe our heart is telling us this is what we want. But at the same time, we're also feeling some sort of resistance.
Yes.
Because on that path to going after your true calling, to evolving to that, bigger spiritual part of your life or that bigger part of yourself, a lot of our shit can come up.
Yes.
And so oftentimes with this calling, we resist it.
Yes.
And we try to hide from it because it, stirs up all these fears,
Yes.
maybe imposter syndrome. Who am I to want to do that or go after that? I can't have that. And
Lots of questions around inner worthiness.
totally. Yeah. And ultimately on this path of going after this calling, we have to like, quote unquote, slay the dragon.
Yes.
To get there. And when we say slay the dragon, that's what we were kind of just speaking to. It's like the dragon is usually within you. It is overcoming those limiting beliefs, changing those stories about yourselves, stepping into new territory when maybe you don't feel worthy of it or you don't feel you can have it. Oftentimes we have to make life changes, and there can be a lot of shedding of the old before we step into the new, and how much fear can come up around that.
Yeah. The first step of the hero's journey is the call. And then the second or third step is leaving, quote unquote, home, leaving what feels familiar to embark on a new journey. So whether that's leaving a job, leaving a relationship, leaving behind the habits you have around eating, whatever area of your life you feel the most broken in or unaligned with, there's going to be something that's calling you towards something bigger. And that's when Harry Potter went to Hogwarts, or Luke Skywalker left his home and the pursuit of becoming a Jedi.
Yeah, and Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz left her home to, essentially kind of go, what really was it with her? Find herself. She came back home. She had much more of an appreciation of her home. And
yeah, getting back home, and at the end realizing home was in her heart the whole time.
There's no place like home.
Yeah, you did a really good impression there.
There's no place like home.
Fucking terrible.
Sorry, Ron. I didn't go to acting school like you, okay?
You probably should have.
I went on a radio career path.
Just teasing.
Yeah. The other thing that I love about the hero's journey is how often at the end, part of it is that the character then comes back home to bestow these new teachings upon other people. So
That's
it's
right.
like in your life after... And this is where sometimes the purpose can come in. If you're going through a struggle, you're going through pain, and you go through this whole journey of learning how to confront it, face it, heal it, deal with it, then can you take your teachings and your learnings and help other people
That's right.
who are going through the same thing.
Yes.
And it really does give so much meaning to why we went through that shit. If we
Yes.
can then take that and help other people going through the same thing, it can, in my experience, feel like it was at least worth something.
Absolutely.
Or for something.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
What about you, Bronny? What's been your hero's journey?
I would say one of the biggest hero's journeys I've encountered has been my connections with women, actually. When I was in grade school, I remember always feeling and being like the fat, chubby kid who never really got the girl that he wanted. I was the nice guy that was always the people pleaser. And all throughout my teens and into my early 20s and even mid 20s, a lot of the time, I never got the girl that I wanted. And so I had this big fear, like a petrifying fear around approaching attractive women who I was interested in. And I remember in my early 20s, my hero's journey was about cultivating the courage to actually be vulnerable and be able to talk to a woman and tell a woman that I found her attractive, and learn how to flirt and learn how to seduce in that, ethical, loving way. First time I heard the word seduce in this context, I thought of like a
slimy.
Slime ball. But
Yeah.
I mean, to actually
Woo.
to actually
Woo a
woo.
woman.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
create that connection where we both are finding each other attractive and want to pursue something. And I remember one of the books that I read that really hit me hard related to what we're talking about right now is Mark Manson's book. A lot of people know Mark Manson from The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, but his very first book was actually a dating book. A lot of people don't know that Mark Manson used to be a pickup artist.
Really?
Yeah. I never got into the whole pickup artist community in a big way. Like, I tickled with it because I was trying to learn how to be better with women. I was trying to learn how to not be so scared and fearful and insecure. I wanted to learn how to be confident and more authentic. And Mark Manson wrote a very, truly, no exaggeration, prolific book called Models. And in the intro of the book, he goes on to explain that the purpose of the book was to help create a model of what it means to be a modern masculine man, which is a huge undertaking when you come to think of it, because what does that mean? But that's exactly what his intention was in writing that book. And for any man who hasn't read that book, whether you are single or not, you're interested in learning how to become a more confident, authentic, bold, charismatic human being. And what I would call like stepping into your healthy masculinity. That's one of the most important books you can read.
Wow, that's cool. I haven't heard of that
Yeah,
one.
it's called Models. And it actually applies to women too. Like the fundamental message in it, it's not just for men. Yes, the language is more focused around helping men create better connections with women, but it actually, like, the teachings of the book are based in what it means to be a confident, happy, successful, inner and outer successful human being.
So for you, slaying the dragon was like learning how to have that confidence and then ultimately like approaching women and putting yourself out there.
Yeah. And ultimately, like you said, it's ultimately an inner game. Like, I always thought that the dragon was women, but no, the dragon was ultimately my insecurities and my trauma response patterns around women.
Yeah.
And the point that I'm making in telling this story is at the end of the book, he has this piece where he talks about, what if every single time you went out and got rejected by a woman, or any time you went out and pursued something meaningful in your life and it didn't work out, he says, what if it was a gift? And this totally changed my paradigm in such a big way. It's what gave me hope in the darker times, because I struggled and suffered emotionally so much over this. Like, this really has been one of the biggest dragons of my life, for sure, because I've suffered emotionally so much over this, like more in my early 20s, even in my later 20s as well. But it's been a big one. It's been a very, very big one. And so to kind of tie that into anyone who's listening, I want you to think about the challenge that you're experiencing right now in life, and to listen to what Mark Manson says, and to look at that challenge and ask yourself, what if it was a gift? What if you didn't see it yet? What if the thing that you are coming up against that you feel is so hard and so crushing, so challenging, what if it was here to teach you something so beautiful and help you evolve into the greatest version of yourself? Yeah. And that's ultimately the truth. You know, the stories that we have around the things that are challenging us are just stories. They're actually not based in reality. The truth is that any challenge in life, any hero's journey, the struggles that we face as we move through it, those truly are the gifts that we get to receive to make us stronger.
Absolutely.
Of course, it doesn't feel like that at the time because it's so hard.
No.
But as you're going through it, if you can change your mindset and realize that it is a gift, it's not there to make you a victim of life. Life is not supposed to be easy and all roses and rainbows. It's supposed to be worthy challenge. And we all go through it. We all have a hero's journey, and it is a gift. And I think that that's what I want people to leave with listening to this episode, is to start looking at your biggest challenges in life as gifts instead of burdens.
And how can you help support yourself? Like, maybe right now you're in it, you're in the thick of it. Are there things that you can do to also help yourself move through it? Because I think there is a potential sometimes when we are in challenge, when we are going through really hard times, to feel like a victim if we just stay stuck in it and we allow ourselves to just like stay in it.
Yeah.
And maybe sometimes we need to do that for a period of time. We need to go through the pain, the mourning, and to just feel it.
Yep,
you know,
of
we
course.
don't want to just like spiritual bypass and just like sweep it under the rug and be like, okay, what's the lesson? Move forward. No, like sometimes there is reality to like just sitting in that and feeling it.
There's definitely a period typically where you do have to do that, for sure.
Totally.
Yes.
And that doesn't feel fun, but it's like, as we are in that, when you feel ready, what are the things or what is the step that you can take right now to help move through it? Whether that's prioritizing better sleep, maybe it's more self-care, having really lovely bubble baths and nourishing meals. Maybe it's something like that. Maybe it's getting a counselor or a coach to start to work through these things so that you can see the end of the road or the teachings or the learnings in this. So I think there are steps that we can take to also help us move through that.
Absolutely. Another thing that comes to mind, which is kind of random, but it's kind of like what Gary Vee says. If anyone knows Gary Vaynerchuk, he's something that he says all the time is he's like, I'm in love with the process. Like, I love failing. I love fucking up. I love getting it wrong. And I think that that's such a key paradigm shift that we have to have in any pursuit of any hero's journey. We have to accept that it's going to be hard. We have to accept that there's going to be failure. We have to accept that our shit is going to come up. And if we can embrace it, if we can fall in love with it, if we can even get like obsessed with it, instead of having this paradigm that our parents have been taught, which is to avoid failure and avoid looking like a doofus in public, avoid looking like you don't know what you're doing. Fuck that. Go out and get it wrong.
Yeah.
Go out and get it wrong. Go out and struggle. Go out. And in that, we're going to learn more than we would have if we avoided and resisted the hero's journey to begin with.
And I think what just came to my mind too is also, acknowledging that like to be human is to experience pain and suffering. Like, isn't it Buddha who says like to be human is to suffer?
Yes.
Like, it's very
life is suffering. Yeah.
It's very much so part of the human experience. But a book that I really love that I feel like can help us maybe have a better relationship with this is The Untethered Soul.
Yeah. Michael Singer?
I think so.
Yeah. Gang.
Which really helps us. Like, it's a great book. I highly suggest going out and reading it. But if you want just like kind of the Cole's notes, it's just like he talks in the book about how our minds work and how our thoughts are just so active. And so to be human is to have these suffering thoughts, but we also have a lot of control over how much, once again, we linger in those thoughts, and recognizing that our thoughts are not who we are. We can allow them to kind of wash over us, and to recognize the way that our brain works is that our thoughts are always looking for a problem. And he talks about in the book, like you probably have a problem right now, and you think that once you solve that problem, you're going to feel better. But guess what? You're going to probably have another problem. And after that, there will be another problem. That's just literally how our minds work. And I think it's a defense mechanism to keep us always, bracing for, for potential danger.
Yeah.
But it results in a lot of us, feeling anxious and depressed and worrying. And so just to realize that we can also have some control over those thoughts, and we don't need to be victim and just succumb to the way our thoughts unfold. We can have a little bit more control and mindfulness over that.
I think one of the biggest things that's coming up for me in listening to all of this is, I think the fundamental key to moving forward is being really, really self-aware about where you feel resistance in your body on a mental, emotional, or physical level. Because it's that resistance that is your nervous system's way of keeping you safe from perceived threat or perceived danger. And when we can be still and hold space for that resistance and start to open up to it, have the courage to face it, have the courage to do the thing that feels uncomfortable, then we can really see that we are so much stronger than we ever gave ourselves credit for. Like this, it's kind of a silly analogy, but it's true for me. I remember when I was 20 years old and I got challenged to go out and talk to a random girl, a very attractive girl on the street. And I remember walking up to her and my whole body literally went numb. Like I could not feel my legs. I was petrified. I was so scared. And that's just my nervous system's way of keeping me, quote unquote, safe from what I thought was going to be rejection, AKA you are not worthy, AKA on a nervous system level, thousands of years ago, that meant you're going to die because you're going to be ostracized from the tribe, right? And so that's all our nervous system is there to do, is keep us safe. But hey, you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay.
Yep.
Moving forward, doing whatever you want to do. It's 2024 at the time we're recording this. And we live in a world now where it is safe to move forward and pursue what you really feel called to do. And so a big part of moving forward on the hero's journey is acknowledging the resistance, embracing it, feel it. Don't resist the resistance, feel the resistance, hold space for it. and start to tell your body, start to tell your mind, start to tell your heart, telling your nervous system a new story. I am okay. I am worthy. I am worthy. I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. I got this. And to have that conversation with someone that you care about, whether it's a friend, family member, coach, therapist, counselor, get support, get new narratives, listen to audiobooks, listen to people who inspire you. You have to rewire your neural pathways in your brain to tell yourself a different story that you got this. You can do this. You will be okay. You are worthy. You got this.
Yeah.
You feel that?
I felt that.
You feel that?
I feel like I want to go do like jumping jacks now.
Well, but that's the thing, right? Is that we live with our belief systems and our habits of thought for so long. We believe that our beliefs are real, but they're not.
No, they're just stories.
They're just stories that can be reprogrammed.
Totally.
This is why hypnotherapy, intentional meditation is so powerful. When you change your thoughts,
you change your life.
Yeah, you do. Well, if you change your thoughts consistently.
Yeah.
If you change your belief systems, your life will change.
Totes. Do you want to hear my hero's journey?
I do.
Okay, which one do you want? Do you want the relationship one or the career one?
Career.
Okay.
Because I gave her a relationship one.
So for me, my hero's journey with my career has been my inner calling to step into working with people, helping people in the coaching counseling space. And yeah, for anybody out there, it's like, as we're telling these stories, I just hope that they're relatable and you can relate it to your life in some capacity. So it's like, think of yourself if there's been like a real, what's been like your soul's inner calling.
Yeah.
And for me, it's felt like that has been mine. You know, Bron, you stepped into the coaching space how many years ago? Well, you got into your spirituality, and I think because of that, you connected with your soul's purpose at a much younger age.
Yes.
Whereas for me, getting into radio was something that happened when I was 18. And before I got into radio, my thought was, like, as a kid, I was so passionate about psychology, and I thought that I was going to get into like counseling or a field like this. And then radio kind of came up and took me down a different path.
Right.
And I loved my radio career probably up until, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And then I started to feel, and I think this happens for so many of us, where like at one point, maybe we're super passionate about something, but our souls evolve, we shift, we change. And at that point, it didn't feel in alignment anymore. And that's when I started going to school for nutrition. And I started taking all these different programs, like my breathwork certification. I did some somatic experiencing work. When I finished my nutrition program, and I started working with clients, and this is oftentimes what happens, like, when your soul's calling, when you start to go down that path, it's going to bring up all your shit. And this was my hero's journey. Once I started working with clients, that's when my dragons started to come up, and all my shit around like the imposter syndrome. Am I actually going to be able to help people? I thought it was my job to actually like solve people's problems and fix it for them. So I was literally with my clients, felt like I was taking on the energy and the emotion of what they were experiencing.
Totally.
I was literally taking it on physically.
Yeah.
And it made me physically ill. Like
Yes.
I
I remember that.
I got quite unwell during that period of time. And I think this is very common for people who move into the wellness field of like wanting to help people. We care so much about wanting to help people, but oftentimes we maybe don't have boundaries or understanding of what that relationship looks like.
Yes.
Especially if you're an empathetic person or an empath, as they say, you can definitely take on people's shit and it can make you very sick.
Yes.
And so I just had I had some childhood trauma stuff come up from within it. All my dragons were coming up. And after that experience of coaching, I had like 5 clients at the time, was doing this 3-month program with all of them. I ended up not taking on any more clients after that because it was just so, once again, referring it back to this hero's journey, I took a step forward, but then it was so uncomfortable that I resisted my calling again.
Yes.
And radio was always my like comfortable, safe thing. It was the industry that like I'd been in for 20 years. I knew I was good at it. It was making good money, even though it wasn't filling my soul anymore.
Yes.
It was what I felt competent at.
Yes.
And you know, we grow up in the school system where it's like we're told not to fail, we're rewarded for succeeding and achieving. And so stepping into new paths where you don't feel confident and you don't feel competent can be so scary. And I think especially as we get older, a lot of us go through this where we're just like, okay, what we've been doing doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel fulfilling anymore. But stepping into new territory where I don't know what I'm doing, I'm not good at this, it feels really scary to fail. We like comfort. And so finally, in September of 2023, I enrolled in the counseling school that I'm going to. And I'm so grateful that it's really helped shift a lot of these beliefs that I had around, you know, what is the relationship between a counselor and a client. So anyways, I bring this all up to say that it's been a long, painful journey of realizing that my past career was no longer in alignment, but resisting stepping into this new career because of how scary it felt and how I just didn't feel like I would be competent.
Yes. And what part of the hero's journey are you in now?
Well, I think now I'm in the part where
You're learning.
I think I'm still slaying the dragon a little bit. Like
You are Frodo Baggins learning from Dumbledore. Just kidding. That's the wrong wizard. Gandalf. I did that intentionally.
Did you?
For all the fantasy nerds out there.
Good job.
I am one.
Good job.
I am one of you.
I think I'm still slaying the dragons. For anybody who is stepping into a new career path or entrepreneurship, like they always say, man, if you really want all your shit to come up, get into being an entrepreneur. It really does bring up all your stuff, you know, from like finances to self-worth to putting yourself out there, being seen, like just so many different things. And so I would imagine, you know, I still have about a year left of school, but I would imagine, especially as I move more into working with people and trying to help people again, moving back into that coaching counseling space, I think more stuff will inevitably come up.
Yes.
But I think that I've done, once again, going back to like, if you're in the thick of it right now, you can do inner work to start shifting things so you're not just stuck in the shit.
I think one of the other things that isn't said enough is we have to be feeding our minds every single day. You know, people say, yeah, I read that book once. And it's like, did you just eat food once? No, you eat food every day to fuel your body. We have to read or listen to audiobooks, listen to people that we find personally inspiring every single day for at least 5 to 10 minutes, if not more. I'm still listening to my favorites every single day, every day. Why? Because I love it. It fuels me and it reminds me of my power. It reminds me of what it means to live in alignment with my authentic self. It reminds me of what it means to be in love with life and to pursue and prioritize what I want and to set healthy boundaries. We need to be going to the gym to exercise our physical muscles. We need to have our heads in the books or our headphones on and listening to the people that inspire us the most to exercise those spiritual, mental, emotional intelligence muscles as well. Mm-hmm. And so that is so important. You will not just heal your life through going to a counselor or a therapist, paying a lot of money to do so. If you have benefits, awesome, good for you. That's great. My point is that there's a lot of free support out there as well. How much are you taking advantage of it? Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. So many very highly competent professionals on YouTube or on Spotify sharing podcasts who are hungry to help people exactly like you who are going through the exact same thing that you're going through. Mm-hmm. So there is support out there. There are people that have slayed the same or very similar dragon as you. You are not alone. Find the people, find the tribe that have gone through and look it up online. Just search your problem online. It's one thing that I can't believe that more people don't do. Mm-hmm. When's the last time you've taken the problem that you're experiencing right now and put it into Google or Chat GPT. Find your answers. Be proactive in getting the support in where you're at in your hero's journey to move forward onto the next step.
Yeah, really well said. So yeah, I think to like wrap up this episode, to just check in with yourself right now and get honest with if there's an area of your life where you're struggling, where you're in pain, or maybe it's an awareness of a calling that is speaking to you. It's just like recognizing where you are at currently in that hero's journey. Is it just like a place where you need to sit with your emotions and be with the shit and the heaviness for a bit? Maybe you just need to be with that for a little while. Or are you in that next stage of like, okay, I'm ready to start taking these steps forward to, like Bron just said, maybe it's like working with a counselor or a coach. Maybe it's looking up online other people who've gone through the same thing so that you can start to get some like inspiration, some insights into like how you can grow and evolve past this. And to just be aware and to know that whatever it is you're in right now, you don't have to be in this forever. And as you grow and evolve through it, and when you come out the other end, there's going to be such growth. There's going to be such strength. There's going to be so many lessons that is just going to make you such a more brilliant person with character and depth. And who knows what you want to do with that? Like,
So true.
you know, whether that's just to have a deeper sense of self and more, that's the other thing is after we all know, like after a rainy day, a sunny day is so much more beautiful. Yeah. So to just, even if it is just as simple as knowing that this contrasting experience right now of this darkness, when the sun is going to come, if all days were sunny, you probably wouldn't appreciate the sunny days as much. So it's inevitable the sunny days will come. This darkness is going to give some contrast to those beautiful sunny days. But maybe it is too. Maybe this could be a career thing for you. Maybe it's you want to help other people with what you're learning and this pain that you're going through right now.
Yes, I love everything that you just said. I think the last thing I want to say to anyone listening to this is please trust your intuition, trust your gut, trust your inner calling of what you feel is real for you. Because I think a lot of the resistance that happens at the beginning of the hero's journey is just simple doubt. It's like, oh no, that can't be true for me. I'm not worthy of that big goal or that big desire. I can't have that. Fucking bullshit. You can, and that's what you're meant to do. Fucking trust it. If it's in you, then life can provide it for you, but you have to show up. Yes.
Yeah, I love that. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Great way to end it.
Yes, baby.
Okay. And once again, if you feel like reading some books that might be helpful within this area, The Untethered Soul is a great one. Bron mentioned the book Models
by Mark Manson.
For anybody who's kind of struggling with that. And for the females out there, I remember when I was going through one of my kind of dark areas, and the book Rise, Sister Rise was one that hit me really hard and really helped me to have hope and belief in my future, the path that I wanted, and a brighter life ahead.
Yes. Yeah. I would say Models isn't particularly a good book for like the quote unquote hero's journey, but any men out there who are struggling in their dating life, that is the book to read. For sure.
Really curious, like when we talked about the hero's journey, how at the end of it, oftentimes it's helping other people with the thing that you struggled with.
Yes.
Is there any part of you at all that's ever had any desire to help men with?
I do.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, doing relationship coaching now.
Yeah, that's cool.
Helping men and women be able to show up in their relationships as their more authentic, vulnerable, boundaried self, and learning how to communicate that, learning how to be empathic with one another, learning how to confidently express yourself consistently. It's very much what a big part of my coaching practice is, and a lot of it comes from that book.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I am at the end of my hero's journey with that. And guess what? I have another one awaiting me.
Yeah. And that's the thing is it really is. It can be one hero's journey after another. If
it always is.
You know, there's always multiple things that come into our lives. Yeah. I'm really excited for once I'm done school and do start working with clients. And I already have had a few clients in the past who were, you know, kind of in that struggle of wanting to step into a certain career, specifically like in the wellness helping space. And it's just such a common thing for so many, probably men too, but just I've talked to so many women who like want to help, but we just don't feel like worthy, or we don't feel our value. We have these fears. And So yeah, I would love to help women step into their power.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Oh yeah. Rise, sister, rise.
Ooh, yeah. All right. Well, we love you guys. Thank you so much for listening. Hope this episode was helpful and look forward to chatting with you next week.
We'll see you next week, guys.